as I did inform you earlier on, that we shall be having guests and they will be able to give us the state of security in the city. And now I do have the guests with me. They will also be talking to us about GBV, and remember GBV is one that is still continuing in high numbers. And people in most cases just know GBV that is domestic violence alone. But I must tell you, GBV is more than that. And I will also be talking to them about GBV. And not wasting any time, I do have, that is ASP Anguchia Josephine, the BRO for West Nile Police Sub-Region. And I know she must not be a new face to most of you. And really, without wasting any time, if I can be able to really welcome on board, to also introduce herself, because I do understand that she is the only one who can best introduce herself. Madam, you're most welcome.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning to you and good morning, viewers out there. I am Senior Superintendent of Police Anguchia Josephine, Police Spokesperson, West Nile Region.
Yes, that is it. That is her, and I know she must not be a new face to most of you. But now, I also do have seated on my left, that is Simwe, and she is from that is the CID offices in Kampala. And if she can also introduce herself, that will be quite good, because I have a feeling that it is them that can best introduce themselves to you, the viewer. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. I'm Detective Senior Superintendent of Police, Simwe Rose. I head the Department of Sexual, Gender and Children Offences in the Criminal Investigations Directorate, Uganda Police Force, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Wow, these are all women, and today we are talking about women emancipation, and this is a clear manifestation, and they will be able to really explain to us what is happening. And now we're coming back to the state of security in this city. Remember, we have been having so many cases of theft. We also hear bullets nowadays being shot at night, and really do not know sometimes where these bullets are coming from. And recently we did also register a case, that is murder, where a drunkard was really mistakenly killed for, that is a thief. And she will be able to really tell us more about that. Madam Anguchia, really, what is happening in West Nile sub-region, and how is the state of security when it comes to this sub-region here? Because right now we are seeing so many cases of insecurity going on. And what can you really say about this?
Yeah, thank you so much once more. I would like to say that West Nile region generally is calm and normal. When it comes to general security of the region, really, the region is not so bad off in terms of insecurity. Everything is moving on well. Of course, we still have isolated cases of insecurity here and there, especially pickpockets in town centers, maybe where people are being robbed in black spots and so on. And I would like to say that just like any other growing urban area or city, these things normally come in. They normally come. Police is trying its level best to try to avoid or prevent these crimes. But of course, some of the occurrences are still ongoing. They are isolated cases, let me say. And these isolated cases do not mean that our city, that's Arua city, is totally insecure. No, but there are some black spots which are still a challenge, and police is getting more information on them. Police is also trying to liaise with the area leaders and the sister forces so as to get way forward. So as I speak, the DPC Arua City Central Division and the team had meetings in some of the wards of Arua City, like Pangisa Ward, and then they have planned a community policing meeting in other wards. These are all aimed at fighting, getting to understand the problems and fighting the crimes, the petty crimes which are occurring in the various wards. But when you look at the nature of the crimes, they are a bit petty crimes, but of course the inconvenience one so much, like pickpockets, snatching people's bags, snatching phones, and then maybe a few cases of being robbed here and there, especially in black spots. So we are trying to understand these areas properly. We are trying to liaise with the local leaders so as to really stamp some of these cases out of the wards where they have been occurring. And according to the information we have at hand, in Arua City, it has been mainly Pangisa Ward, the areas around Baruku, areas around Arua Primary School. Then we have areas around Smash, where we have these traces of criminal gangs along Onduparaka Road. Then we have some areas within the town center, within the city center, where some youths normally waylay people, mostly around bus terminals, and they normally target travelers, where they come and snatch their bags, they come and deceive them with the pumbulu. Pumbulu is some kind of deceptive game, but it's really deceptive. It is a way of robbing one, where they pile so many pieces of papers, and then they wrap it with the money. It can be with maybe 20,000 notes, maybe 10,000, maybe they can wrap with 1,000 notes on top, but inside can be papers. So they throw it in front of the travelers as you come out of the bus or as you're going to board. They throw it in front of you, and then you look at it thinking that it's some money. So as you bend low to pick or to check what is there, you find the young boys jumping from all directions on you, telling you you've stolen their money or you want to steal their money. Instead, they will start stealing from you. They start checking your bags, some can snatch the phones and so on. That is how they have been robbing people or deceiving people at bus terminals, and mostly they target travelers, people who are new to the city, but people who are used, who know their tricks, in most cases they don't fall victims of that. But it's newcomers who do not know their tricks who normally fall victims.
Yes.
So these are some of the isolated incidences we are getting.
In most cases, we have seen police really trying to move around. Nowadays, if you move at night in some of these areas that you have mentioned, I personally have interested myself to really sometimes understand what is happening. And you see police trying to move around here and there, some certain hours of the night, to really see to it that these cases are brought down. But madam, where is the gap really? Why is it that these areas have continued to remain the hotspots despite all the several campaigns to really see to it that these cases are brought down? And recently, I did attend a meeting that was organized by the RCC together with other leaders. That was at San Siro, one of the hotspots that is known for criminality. But then we are seeing no change. What is the problem exactly? What is happening? Where is the gap?
First of all, when you look at the people or the net of criminals who are misbehaving or doing this, these are young boys who should have been in schools. But these are boys who are not schooling, who are just there. We see that the problem stretches right to the upbringing of these children. The way they were brought up, really, they were not brought up well. As such, when they grow, they start surviving on the streets. They think stealing on the street is a way of survival. So it stretches right from the upbringing of these children. Now police has to come in to actually fight failure of the parents to bring up their children well. In other words, these children grow anyhow on the streets, and in the process they go and steal, they go and snatch bags. They start small. Then from there they start developing or growing bigger. And that is how they end up becoming a problem or a nuisance in some of these black spots within the city. And then in some other areas, we also realize that there are some LC officials who are relatives of these children. They are relatives of the children. Whenever we try to take strong or serious action on them, you find their parents coming to complain before police, telling us that no, these are their children, they're okay. Actually, they defend. They become so defensive on their children, and it becomes hard really to give them serious punishment. And they are the ones following them up to court, up to where, and they end up being released. So for that matter, we have decided that we really need to do a lot of community policing. Secondly, we need to do intelligence-led operations. because we cannot just go and begin rounding children anyhow. We need information, we need intelligence. But in these intelligence-led operations, we also need support from the communities around. We need them to share information with us that you see, we have children, we have young boys, so and so children, they are the ones attacking, they are the ones waylaying people here, or they are the ones having weapons, because people know them. In these villages, they know that these ones are thieves, these ones are not thieves, these ones are this, they are that, these ones have weapons, they normally waylay, they know, but they don't want to come out openly to report or to share information with the police. Everyone wants to play it easy, everyone wants to be innocent, so that they remain to blame police.
Yes.
So because of that, it becomes difficult for police to really crack up to the grassroots, to be able to get the actual criminals. So we are appealing to members of public, especially communities living in these areas like Pangisa Ward, communities living in Barukusel, in the Kirabo area, where these criminalities are taking place. Please share information with the police, share information with the authorities, so that we are able to get to know these children who are causing problems, these youths who are causing problems. We are able to study their mode of operation, in other words, the way they conduct their criminal activities, and we are able to crack them up and arrest. Where possible, we are able to pick the actual criminals with evidence, so that they will be able to be removed out of the communities. They go and test prisons for a while. Through that, we shall be able to really eliminate some of these cases out of the city. And as I said earlier on, as a growing city, we may not avoid all these challenges. The challenges may be there. So what we need to do is to really cooperate. Let's share information with the police. Please, you go to the DPC's office, go to community liaison's office, you can go to CID even OC station and explain the problem, so that they're able to plan on such kind of information, and they will be able to net these criminals.
Okay, before I bring in that is Detective SSP Simwe, I still want to ask you one question. You know, you talked about GBV cases by some of these young boys, and these are supposed to be young school-age going children. And now one theft case that we are noticing is that these people are very much involved in that is snatching of women's handbags. They target, that is people's smartphones, and that is what they do. And I think that does not stop there. If you really move along the hospital lane, you will realize that people have started vandalizing government property. For instance, the solar light has actually been destroyed now. Is there any measures for these people actually to be charged, that is for vandalism of government property? Is there any provision, because we are seeing thieves in most cases also now targeting that is property that belongs to government?
Yes. A thief is a thief, whether you've stolen government property, whether you've stolen whose property. So long as you've picked something which does not belong to you, then you're a thief. So if these people are doing that, they need to be reported to police. We investigate, arrest, and bring them before the law. Yeah, whether they are vandalizing government properties, whether they are doing what. We realized even some go ahead to destroy the street lights. They go ahead to remove these pavers on the roadside. They remove pavers that to go and make their toilets. They go and sell them, and so on. Really, a lot of things are going on. As I said earlier on, partly it is poor upbringing, where you just bring up children anyhow, and when the children start growing, they think stealing is a normal way of survival. So they go on the streets, they steal anything. They steal government properties, they vandalize, they do so many things. So let us try to do our roles of parenting so well. And then on the other side, let's share information timely with the police, so that we are able to net down these criminals and take appropriate action on them. Okay. Otherwise, as police, we have already stepped up operations, patrols, both motorized and foot. together with our sister forces to comb these black spots within the city. And then besides that, we are doing a lot of community policing through these community dialogues at the wards. The dialogues are taking place at the wards, and we're getting a lot of information. We're also getting so many allies who are willing to support police in ensuring that these criminals are netted. And so we appeal to other people elsewhere to do the same. If you've not been able to have community policing in your area, please consult police and cooperate with the police so that we're able to fight the criminality.
If you look at the Child Family Protection Unit, the entity that is mandated to really look out for these issues, you realize that if you move them, and right now you'll find so many cases are being registered. Yesterday I did take a walk, that is to the office, and I did realize that the office was overwhelmed, and that is an indication that really so many cases are being registered. And within this period, this is why I do understand that some negligent or parent that Fande Angucha was talking about is actually witnessed, where some parents do not really want to ensure that they fulfill their responsibility of parenting, and that really becomes the challenge. And that is what sometimes also pushes these children in the streets to look for survival by them ending up becoming thieves. And now I want to bring on, that is Fande Simwe, to also tell us more about GBV. Because in most cases, when you talk about GBV, some people just think it is domestic violence alone. Their minds usually tend to run to domestic violence. But I do understand that it is actually broader than that. If she can be able to really explain more on this, that can actually be good to us. Because most people think about GBV, they only think about that is domestic violence, which to me is not the case. What is really GBV that we are talking about? Because so many campaigns have been there about GBV, but GBV cases continue to go up despite all these several campaigns. What is GBV and what is lacking behind in terms of ending this vice?
Thank you very much, moderator. Gender-based violence is, I can quickly define it, is the harmful act incurred on someone. It can be physical, it can be sexual, it can be psychological. It can cause harm to a woman, a girl, a boy, and a man. So it comes up in many forms, especially sexual, physical, and psychological. It can be faced by all men and women. Most times when we talk of gender-based violence, we quickly think of women, but also men are victims of gender-based violence. And when we look at gender-based violence, when we look at gender, these are socially allocated characteristics to women and men. The way the society expects a man or a woman or a girl or a boy to behave, our norms. And gender differs from community to community. So you'll find this community behaves this way and expects men or women to behave in a certain way, and another community is the opposite. There are communities where you'll find they expect a woman to be caring, to take care of the whole family, provide all needs. But then there are communities where you'll find it is the man who should be the head of the home. You'll find the communities where we have women who have to pay bride price. You'll find communities where we have men who pay bride price. So it varies. And men also face the same violence as women face it. It's only that women, the percentage of women and girls who face this gender-based violence is much bigger than that of men, because in our societies, because of most of our cultures and our societies, they do face it, and most times we encourage them that whenever it happens, they can always come up. So gender-based violence, it comes up, it manifests in very many different forms, and the forms, we can look at the physical forms. This is the physical violence. And when we talk about physical violence, we are looking at assaults. A woman and a husband fighting in a home. It can be a man assaulting his wife in a home, which is physical. That is the physical violence. It can be bullying. Maybe at school, a boy is bullying a girl. It can be slapping. It can be kicking. So it comes the physical, where you touch or threatening someone, probably using a weapon and the rest. So that is the physical violence. And we usually experience it in our homes, where a man beats up a woman to death or leaves the woman with a lot of injuries. Also, women beat men in their homes. So when we look at the physical violence, that is what it means. Then we can look at the sexual violence. The sexual violence can come up in different also forms. Under sexual violence, we can look at, say, rape, where a man rapes a woman. We can look at defilement, where a man defiles a young girl below the age of 16. But also boys can be defiled as long as they are still below the age. Where you find an old woman is in love or is having sexual intercourse with a very young boy below the age of 18 is also can be taken as defilement. Then we have indecent assaults. You're moving on the streets and someone comes and starts touching your breasts, your bums. So that is also indecent assault, which is also termed into the sexual. And of course, sexual also happens in our homes under the domestic violence, the marital rape, because we would expect people to consent and have consent when they are to have any sexual sexual intercourse. Yes. So it also becomes that violence. Yes.
If you are to look at men, in most cases, all these cases really do not favor the men. And men may be going through a lot when it comes to GBV, because we do understand that now GBV cuts across. That is both men and women. But men usually tend not to really come out and express themselves about GBV. That is one thing that we have realized. And why is that the case? Because sometimes I think this goes back to society or maybe the policies that we in place. In your own findings, why is it that men still continue to silently suffer from GBV?
Men silently are suffering from GBV mainly because of our societies and our cultures and our patriarchy society that we have grown in, where they expect a man is the head of the home, they expect a man to behave in a certain way, to conduct himself in a certain way, to be the head of the family. So even when a man faces the same violence, he feels shy to come up and say that this is what I'm going through in my home, because the community will shun him. Look at this man, he's always assaulted by the wife. Look at, he's not man enough. How can you be beaten by a woman? And it is our society, the communities that are failing men to come up and speak about the violence that they are going through. And of course also lack of sensitization sometimes, because when most times we speak about gender-based violence, people quickly think of girls and women, but also men face it. So some men are not aware that even walking into a police station, you can get assistance if you have faced violence or you're being tortured or violated in your home, probably by your family members or your spouse. You can come up. So it's mainly on our cultures, our gender norms, the way we expect men to behave, and our patriarchy society, and also lack of information, that they can also come up and seek justice when they are faced with violence.
So, what can be done exactly with gender stereotype that still continues to exist? That is among the societies. Because if you really look at men, they really go through gender-based violence. I have cases whereby, as you said, sometimes in society, I think, which comes back to us because we are all part of the society. In most cases, women that beat their husbands are known in the areas where we live in. Because if a woman beats the man, in most cases that is news, because people want to know who that woman is and really how the woman actually beats the man. Really, what can be done to change that stereotype that to me is very poor, and that attitude that really men can really go through GBV but keep quiet about it, because we have seen cases of where people have lost their lives under such situations. And really, what should these men do now? These ones, most especially these that are going through GBV. And we have seen most cases others also running away from home, which to me is never the solution. Under what situation, what can they really do to see that the cases of GBV that they are going through can be brought down?
Yes, the first I would talk about the community. For men to be able to come up and speak about the violence that they are facing, it is the community to first give that support, to take away those stereotyping, and shunning men who come out to speak that they are going through the violence. We need to support, as a community, to support men so that they are able to stand firm and say, look, this is what I'm facing, this is what I'm going through in my home. Then number 2, we can also look at sensitization. This continuous sensitization, since people are not aware that men, most men, and they believe it's only women who walk in and get justice, but also men, we are informing you that you can always come up and inform police or any other justice center or court, and you will be assisted and you will get justice. And also not to keep quiet. Always speak out to your family members. A problem shared is a problem solved sometimes. So it is better to speak out. Many people are going through the same challenges, but when they speak out, they get advice. But the challenge is that most men keep quiet. They don't want to be seen that they are assaulted or they are violated by women. So it's until when we all appreciate that there is need for us to speak out, and it takes us all to fight this violence. Come up. If you're a man going through the same, please walk into the police station. You will be helped. Speak to a counselor. If you're going through the same, if you feel maybe you're not yet strong enough to come up and speak out to the counselor. Maybe you can also be helped. But at police stations, we are always open, and because of the sensitivity that we attach to these gender-related cases, we try and ensure that there is high level of confidentiality. So even when you come up, whether you're a man, and you speak about the violence that you're going through, you will access the same treatment that also women get, and your matter will be investigated and handled to the best logical conclusion, and you will get justice. So speak out, don't keep quiet that you're a man. So many men are starting to speak out and they are getting justice. Don't keep quiet in a violent marriage, in a violent home, so that you never know. Most people have lost lives.
Okay.
You wouldn't need to keep quiet, and only we see a life being lost over the same violence because of the silence.
Yes, this goes back to the men. Really, it is better for you to be called a coward rather than really continue suffering that is silently, because being called a coward by reporting to police could be that milestone that could save you from what could maybe arise and have a negative impact on your life. So I think it is time that really, if you're going through a lot, you need to really rush out these people that Afande has mentioned. You can go to police, you can also use the counselors, you can use your relatives, and that maybe at the end of the day really will be able to address this challenge that you're going through. And with that now, I want to bring back Afande Anguchia on and really to tell us how maybe the image of GBV is the West Nile sub-region. West Nile sub-region, where we do have maybe so many cases where people are marrying more than 2, and this is where also sometimes we are seeing GBV cases. If you have to look at what is happening, in most cases we are marrying more than 2. Really, what can be done, and maybe how is the picture like, if you have to be able to paint for us and the viewers out there?
Yeah, thank you so much. In West Nile region, we still have got so many cases of gender-based violence, and as it was already clearly explained, because of these cultural norms, beliefs, how the gender roles have been assigned to men and women, you find that so many of these cases are occurring, but they may not easily be reported to police. Both men and women, there is a common belief that when you report a family member or an incident that has occurred to a person within the family to police, and somebody from the family is arrested over the same report, then there will be bad omen in the family.
What is called
there is
Aruba?
Something which is called Aruba. It is what we have been battling here in the West Nile region, particularly in Arua, in Marata, in Terego, where it is commonly believed. They believe that issues pertaining family members are not supposed to be reported to police. Even if there is domestic violence, even if it's whichever form of violence, it should be handled by clan elders at home. It shouldn't be reported to police. If it is maybe sex-related violence like rape, defilement, it is believed that those things are to be harmonized through payment of animal, payment of something with blood. like a bull, maybe a cow, a goat, a chicken, and so on. So those beliefs are still there, and they are very common, especially in villages. And that's why many of these cases have been occurring, but they have not been reaching police stations. Because when you report one, they can either excommunicate you from the family, that how can you report your partner to police? Yet this is your man. How can you go to police and you leave elders here, you leave clan leaders here? So you find women have been facing, mainly women have been facing a lot of challenges. Even up to this time, they face a lot of challenges reporting their violent partners to police. The same applies to men because of that patriarchy society that puts men at a superior level and women down. When you report a violent wife or a violent spouse to police, they will say, then you are a very weak man. You are very weak. How can you report this small matter here to police? Couldn't you just sit with us here and we resolve? Couldn't you just tolerate? So you find men dying silently. They don't want to report. On the other side, very many women experiences they don't want to report to police because of the Aruba belief or myth. So because of that, formally, really, these cases were not being reported to police. But with this constant awareness creation, where so many organizations are now trying to inform women of their rights, they're informing men of their rights, they are really speaking to people about gender-based violence and how it should be fought. Very many people are now coming out. They are now reporting violence which is occurring in their families to police. They are seeking redress. They are seeking counseling from police. And because of that, many family members have benefited. Many times in the Office of Child and Family Protection Unit, you find when spouses are reporting when they are really angry, some are crying, they come when they are actually fighting, some even threaten to fight at police stations. But we have professional officers who have been selected to handle them. They normally receive their complaints, they counsel them until when they go back smiling. We have cases where officers take their time, especially these officers in the Office of Child and Family Protection Unit, officers of gender-based violence. They take their time to counsel them and they go back smiling.
Yes.
So they normally assess the gravity of the offenses. If it is minor, if it is something that needs counseling, that's what they do. But if it is grave, where maybe injuries have occurred, where maybe death has resulted, then they will have to investigate and it goes through the court. Maybe where rape has occurred, defilement, these ones cannot easily be negotiated. So they are normally investigated and the perpetrators are taken to court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Madam Asimwe, if you are to really look at the Child Family Protection Unit, even when it comes to West Nile sub-region, this is one entity that is very critical in addressing the GBV cases, but now the facility is yet grappling with inadequate space and the furniture really is not well that good. There are plans to really see that this entity that is handling this critical matter is supported maybe in the next years to come, because if you really look at what is happening, even if you move there right now, and during this period, this is where you witness a number of cases being registered because so many cases of child neglect are now coming on board, where parents are now complaining of their men not giving school fees for the children. This is where they are rushing to police at this time, and that is where you see the numbers are very much overwhelmed. So do you have maybe any plans of really expanding the facility in the next years to come, because it is handling one of the critical matters that now is being reported to police?
Thank you very much for that observation. We realize that most of our police stations, some they have limited space, and considering the nature of cases that especially the section of child and family and the section gender they handle, they need a lot of confidentiality. People need some private space where they can speak out their hearts to their officers so that they can be helped. without being listened to by the other complainants or users of the police station, it is still a challenge. We look forward in future to have bigger spaces, very convenient spaces where people can walk in, but currently the spaces are still as limited, but in the future it's something that we are looking at, to have convenient and safe spaces where we can have our victims speak to us freely, where we can have our complainants speak to us freely, and they are not bothered or interfered by the other users of our facility. At CID headquarters, we have some of the facility that really is helping us, and we look forward to have it rolled down to all stations, because we have interview rooms where we have an interface with only the complainant at a go, so that no one interferes. So you can easily walk in and we interview you, record your statements, speak out or counsel you and talk to you when actually no one has known that you have even walked into the station. So those are facilities that we are looking forward to have at every station, interview rooms, not just these open offices, but to have separate private interview rooms where we can have these people and we interact with them, and of course which are also child friendly, because children also need their better safe spaces where you can easily interact with them so that they can speak out, they can feel comfortable, not in this mature and serious environment. It is already, we have also one at headquarters, CID, but it is work in progress, and we are looking forward to ensure that those facilities, they roll down, they trickle down up to the police station. So it is a plan that we are looking forward to, but in the meantime, our spaces are limited, but we try as much as possible that even if you come to the station, even in our state now, we will ensure that we get a private space where we can speak freely with you, so that you can give us your information and we share with you. We do not let that information to be public. We understand the sensitivity that is attached to those matters.
All right, that is the discussion in relation to GBV and state of security in West Nile. But now we are going to be running for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we shall be able to pick up with the conversation from that. Please do not touch that dial as we return back shortly from now. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023, live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
welcome back from that short commercial break. We are still discussing issues that is in relation to GBV, which is gender-based violence, which is still going up despite all the several campaigns in place to see to that this vice is really brought down, but now the vice is not reducing. And that is why we are here. We want to make an understanding of maybe how best we can bring this issue down when it comes to reducing the cases of GBV, because GBV still remains a great challenge, and not only in Western Sub-region but in the entire country, because we have the 16 days of activism, and all this is to really see to that GBV cases are brought down. And that is why today we are having a discussion. I do have, that is, officers in relation to dealing with this vice, and they have really extensively also explained to us maybe what best can be done, and then maybe also lastly if they can be able to tell us more about this discussion that is related to GBV, because GBV really is furthermore, because in most cases where men also go through GBV, they do not really rush out to report to police and other stakeholders, which is very, very wrong. But rather, I want to appeal now to all the men, because they have really advised that if we open up on cases of GBV, then we shall be able to really get the best solution. And that is really also going to maybe bring harmony in our families if there is need. So I think this is where we are having the discussion. And now I want to bring, that is, Madam Asimwe, to really tell us how can gender-based violence be prevented in families. Because as we are getting married, remember, when you're getting married, usually the preachers always tell us that marriage is something that is never going to be smooth. You are going to be having problems here and there, but how best to solve the solution, you get solution to these problems is the way to go. And then that is when I want to really bring you back, because with the marriages, I really believe that is the truth. We will never have, that is a smooth love, but you have all these challenges here and there. And then how best can GBV be prevented in such scenarios? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can prevent gender-based violence at our family level. We can always do communicate. We have lost the norm of communication in our homes, which is a big problem and which has also led to a lot of violence. And therefore, I believe when we do communication and understanding, communicate with your partner. If something is wrong, discuss over it and let it go, so that you solve it, than resorting to violence to solve a problem or a concern. And then also at a family level, always reflect where you have come back, where you've come from with your partner, because these are people you chose yourselves in love and you took vows or you promised each other. And that is the spirit you should keep. Violence has never solved, violence has never helped. It has actually increased the problems, because even when you're facing a problem, it's until when you really reflect where you've come from with your family, where you need to go, that is when you can always avoid this violence. And of course, reducing on alcohol. Most of these families, people have been taken up by alcohol. They spend every little money they have in bars, and you find they cannot do much in their families, which is also another cause of violence. And therefore, when we reduce on the over drinking and spending a lot in bars, it will also help. And working hard as a family to ensure that there are some sources of income. We have many projects that the government has put in place, the parish development model, the NIOGA, and the rest of it. Please join them so that you can have some source of income. Poverty is also one of the leading causes. And the moment at least we see ourselves out of poverty, I believe as a family and as a community level, we can reduce some violence. And also educating children. Ensure your children are taken to school. Children who are not educated, they are dropouts, they are on the streets, they are left to drug abuse. It becomes a big challenge, and I call upon parents, in order for us to prevent and stop this violence, please ensure that you give your children the best education so that they are not taken up into drug abuse, into prostitution, and all those other unwanted behaviors. On the police side, we have done much to ensure that we scale down on the cases of gender-based violence as an institution. We have put up gender desks, actually from the directorate, a full department that handles these cases, which I head, the Department of Sexual, Gender and Children Offences, mainly to ensure that we look closely into these cases. And when you look at the station, it trickles down to every police station. There is a gender and sexual offences desk. dedicated with well-trained officers to ensure that these cases are well managed and handled. And the composition of these offices, we have both male and female officers, because we believe and we appreciate that most men initially would fear to come up and report cases because they would walk in and find offices of gender are more dominated by female officers, and they would feel not comfortable to speak out to them because of what they are going through. So we appreciated that, and we are having in a big number now of men to ensure that also men are catered for and they can easily speak out to any person whom they feel comfortable with. If it's a man, if he's comfortable speaking out his problems to a man, the male officers will be available. If he's comfortable speaking out to a female officer, the female officers are available. So we have put all that in place to ensure that, one, we prevent it, but also if it has happened, people should get the best justice. People should freely speak out their problems so that they are helped. So it trickles at all police stations and all regions, and of course at CID headquarters. That whole department was put to ensure that we scale down on these cases.
Okay.
Then creating also awareness, like this one, to ensure that people appreciate the dangers of gender-based violence. They are not only limited to a few, but the dangers of domestic violence cannot be mentioned all and even be exhausted. We have seen people even being violated to death. You've seen domestic murders where a husband beats a wife to death, where a wife beats the husband to death. Children are losing out, they are defiled and early pregnancies, dropouts of schools, STIs, HIV and AIDS, so all that. So we are creating this awareness as a police. And then also when it comes to the prosecution, in liaison with all jail stakeholders, we have put special court sessions to handle the sexual offenses, the sexual related offenses cases, so that they are expeditiously heard. Because we realize that when these cases take long to be heard and concluded in court, people tend to step back. After 5 years, someone probably who was defiled or raped has moved on, and it becomes a challenge. Maybe she was defiled when she was 16, and you're now inviting her when she has already walked into marriage to testify. So we appreciated that it was a big challenge, and we have special court sessions mainly dedicated to handle those cases and expedite. So the sessions run, and we have seen a great number of convictions and money cases concluded, but also on record time, and they have helped to clear backlog. Then also working with stakeholders. Gender-based violence, as police, we have partnered with many stakeholders. We cannot handle gender-based violence alone. It needs a multi-sectoral approach of handling them. So we usually bring probation officers on board because we need them, especially when we are dealing with children and families. Then Ministry of Gender, of course. Then we have NGOs that support us, like the UNFPA and many others. They really come in handy to support when it comes to sensitization and the welfare counseling and the rest of it. So it is also what we have put in place to ensure. Then also putting specialized units as police to make sure that when these cases happen, we have all the expertise to handle them. We have, of course, the Criminal Investigations Directorate, but there is also the police medical services. While handling these cases, most of our victims need examinations, they need treatment, and we have a full directorate of medical, mainly to do examinations. And when you look at most of our stations and regions, now we are having police medical doctors to ensure that we get professional examination when it comes to these cases, because that is the main evidence that we rely on. Most of these offenses are committed in private, because no one will call someone to come and witness how he's beating a husband or wife. And mainly we rely on the scientific evidence. And then also we have the forensic department that helps us to analyze the scientific evidence like DNAs and the rest of it, which we have also relied on so much to ensure that we prove our cases. Even we have very few witnesses, but we go scientific to ensure that we have the best evidence. And all that has been put in place by the Uganda Police Force to ensure that people get the best out of our investigations and they get justice.
Okay, thank you so much for that extensive and elaborate explanation towards gender-based violence and how best we can really end it. And one thing that I really pick from you is the issue of drug abuse among children, which is a reality when it comes to this Arua city here. If you move to the suburbs, really some of the areas that Adama, which I did mention here as the hotspots of criminality, you will be able to really realize that most young children are involved into drug abuse, and that is where we have also understood that that is where they get the courage to really go and involve themselves into these criminal activities. Really, Madam Anguchia, really, is there any way that maybe we can really bring this down, because we are seeing these young children who escape from some of the parents, and some of the parents really sometimes also don't know their children are involved into this drug abuse or into this theft that we are talking about. Only they get to realize it maybe when they are caught up. That is when they really get up to realize this. And maybe what is the challenge and how is this affecting the operations of Uganda Police Western Sub-Region in particular? And how are you going to really bring this vice down? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The discussion with
Yeah, thank you so much. As my colleague has rightly said, many of these children are not brought up well, and they were not taken to school. Parenting is poor. So you find a child growing wildly without minding, without caring. The child leaves home very early in the morning to go. Nobody even bothers to ask where the child is going, whether he has wrong groups, whether he is consuming marijuana or what. Nobody bothers. They only come home to eat food. Again they disappear. That's how they start, and that's how they are left by very many of these parents, especially in town centers, because parents are also minding of businesses, they are minding of survival. So children survive alone, parents are on their own, and that's why these cases are coming in. So as a solution, let us play our parenting roles very well. Let's take these children to school. Let's set rules in our families on what time children are supposed to be at home, what time they are to move out of home, what time they are to be at home. When they realize that you are strict as parents, then they will also adjust and they start following the family rules. And in the process, they end up growing up as good children. And you end up protecting your children from being exposed to wrong groups, to consumption of marijuana and other drugs. That is one area where we can be able to avoid or prevent these cases in future. Then, for these cases which are already going on, where the children are already exposed to these criminalities, the best we can do is, one, to share information with the police, share information with the area police timely, so that there is what is called intelligence-led operations conducted on these children, so that we are able to pick the rightful criminals with the evidence ready at hand. When we pick them with the evidence at hand, it will become easier to prosecute them up to courts of law, and they can be able to earn some good years in prison before coming out. And the good thing is our prisons are designed in such a way that people get to, they are corrected. It's actually called correctional center, where they keep being corrected. Many times they come out when they are changed. But of course we have a few hardcore criminals. After going through all that process, when they come out, they go back to their former groups and they go and repeat the same crime. And that's where the problem is. But all these records should always be given to police, such that when a person appears for the second or for the third time, it should be on a record. It should even be in the file, so that the person will be able to get a bigger punishment.
Okay.
So that's on the other part of prosecution. Then we also have community policing, which we are doing with the area leaders. And we always urge the local leaders to cooperate with the police. They should make use of this office of community liaison, and through community liaison, police can be able to have dialogue meetings where awareness can be taken up to the wards. People are talked to up to the wards, and they will be able to adjust when they get the information right in their villages there. So community policing is another way that we're doing, and of course we're also doing a lot of patrols, motorized foot patrols, and so on. And all these are aimed at minimizing these cases. And I believe when we continue sharing information timely with the police, we shall be able to remove some of these cases out of the city.
All right. We
realized that we had the criminal gangs. These young boys had formed up gangs like fire eaters. We have the Zamin, we have the non-working billionaires.
Jobless billionaires.
Yes, jobless millionaires. Very young boys when you look at the suspects. They are really very young boys. So we need to do a lot in that. But of course, as the security, we are trying to disorganize those gangs, because when they are not being handled, when they are allowed to grow, they can become a problem, a challenge in the future.
Okay, as we are just remaining with few minutes, and remember the remaining few minutes to 9, we'll be able to be given, that is the All as a News team, to actually come through to also let you have what is happening in the world of news in the Lugharati language. So with that, really, I would wish to continue with the discussion, but now time cannot allow us, and that is where I will be able to slowly bring the guests to have their final say. As we come to a closer of this discussion, but in a very similar way, I want to appreciate you watching us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. I want to say thank you so much, because this is West Nile Television. Remember, our number one mandate is to enlighten the region, and one way we are actually going to enlighten the region is through discussing and talking issues that affect society, and the discussions are definitely to also have impact on society, and that is why we come here. We want to have change. We want to have a society that is good, and that is why we always come here each and every Mondays to Fridays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And today is the Thursday edition, and I do have police officers who are really very much elaborate, and they did explain to you cases ranging from, that is the state of security, to GBV, where they did talk about extensively, and I think you, the viewer, you must have really gotten something small for yourself. And now we are coming to close of the discussion, but before we really get to close, let them maybe also have their final say, maybe 1 or 2 words to really sum up the discussion with. I'll start with Madam Anguchia, and then I'll also be able to hand it over, that is to Ms. Asimwe, to also really have the final say. Madam, you're most welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. My final say is that let's continue sharing information through police contacts, so that we're able to get to know more about these cases, so as to eliminate them out of our city. And it needs cooperation. Let's cooperate with the area police, so as to reduce cases of criminalities within the city center. Then secondly, I would like to say that right now we are having a training by a team from CID headquarters, where Madam Asimwe is right now among these facilitators. We are being trained on how to handle sexual gender-based violence cases, and I believe through these trainings, as police, we shall be equipped to know how to handle the matters. So we really urge our people to report these incidences to police. They should leave out these cultural beliefs of Aruba. These Arubas do not work. So they should report these cases to police, so as to deter other people from doing the same.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Anguchia, for coming through. I also now want to hand it over, that is to Ms. Asimwe Rose, that is Detective Asimwe Rose, from the CID headquarters, that is in Chibuli, and this is one entity that is actually very much involved into investigating the matters. And now with the training, I do understand that maybe this will also have an impact on the officers and the other people who are attending the training. And if she can also briefly tell us maybe something small about the training and also some of the discussion. We thank you.
Thank you very much. Like my colleague has said, currently we are running a training for capacity building for our police officers, mainly who handle sexual and gender-based violent cases, and also together with their family members. Because we have realized that to eliminate gender-based violence, it starts with you as an individual. Before it goes, you give it to others, especially when it comes to justice. So we are training the police officers and their immediate family members, mainly to create awareness, but to ensure that we also stamp out violence in our police barracks. And this program, of course, we are supported by also our stakeholders, the UNFPA, and also under the jailers. And we believe that after this training, our police officers will be able to give the best services, the most professional services. And that's why we are committed to continuously do capacity building for our officers to ensure that the public, they can get the best services they need from the police stations. Then when it comes to ending of the violence, it takes us all. As an individual, what are you doing to end this violence? It starts with you. Right in your home. You don't need to start looking at other people's families when actually even in your home you're violating the people who are there. Respect people, human rights. Everyone has rights. Right to freedom from violence, right to live, right to work and earn some income. So we need to respect people's rights at each level, whether you're a man or a woman or a girl or a boy. People have the freedom to associate and move around. But you find people, our perpetrators are busy violating and also inviting on the public that if you see any type of criminality that is happening, please inform the police, inform the relevant authorities. It may be happening in your neighborhood and you say, oh, I don't care, it's in the neighborhood. But you never know, it will also spill over to your place. When they are raping and defiling these young children, these are our daughters and they are our sons. Okay. If you keep quiet over it, tomorrow, you never know. It might be your own person. So please take it up, speak up, seek for justice, and you will get it. And let us all put our hands together and end the domestic violence and gender-based violence. I thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That is Detective ASP Asimwe Rose, all the way from CID headquarters in Chibuli. And I do understand that they are here for a training, and she has elaborately explained very, very much to us about GBV. I also did have, that is SSP Anguchia Josephine, the Public Relations Officer for West Nile Police Sub-Regions. And really, she did also explain to us the state of security, giving us maybe some insights to what is happening in the sub-region. And I do very, very much also want to thank you, the viewer, for that. And with that, really, we come to a close of today's discussion. And my name is Farish Majid. Let us catch up again till next time. That will be Friday for the last edition of the week. And up next is the Lubarati News. That is with Mukulia Lawrence. Thank you so much. Up next is the news. For now, we are out.